Hello there. Welcome to my first ever attempt at a voiceover over one of my speed builds. A few people suggested it might be a good idea, so I was a bit reluctant at first, but I thought I'd give it a go and waffle on as I build. So what am I building now? I'm building, for those of you who don't know it or recognise the building, it is Longleat House, which is a English stately home, Elizabethan stately home. It was built in the 16th century, so around, I think it was finished in about 1590, something like that. And it's just outside of Bath, Frome, in the southwest of England. And it's also home to the largest drive-through safari outside of Africa. Well, it was the first drive-through safari out of Africa. I don't know if it's still the largest, and there are a few others now in the UK, but it was the first one, opened in the 60s, and it's expanded lots since then. They've got more farmland, lots more animals. I think they've got about 500 animals now, ranging from your little cows to right up to the big cats. And it's a really cool place, Longleat, and it's got a huge hedge maze as well, which I think I probably should check my facts on these. I think is the largest hedge maze in the world. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure I read that one day. But then I could have read that 15 years ago and it might have been beaten since then. I don't know. But yeah, so at the moment I am first just trying to get down the first slice of pie, as I call it. So I've got down the foundations-ish just to get an idea of the width, and then start filling in the detail. And this bit was a bit awkward because I didn't want it too grid pieces, so 8 meters wide, and so I've done it's 1.5 pieces wide, so it made it a little bit awkward to copy. I just had to do each bit section one at a time. But it's the great thing when people see huge buildings like this, they think, oh my gosh, that must have taken so long to place each bit down. But really, as long as you just make you're happy with your first piece of pie, and then you can start copying it around. Not everything it's not completely copied because the sides are quite different, and I've stuck to it as best as I can. The front and left hand side, as you look at it, is pretty accurate. The stairs look a bit rubbish, but that's about as best as I could do without spending hours and 500 pieces on the thing. And the left-hand side is kind of like a staff access area, so I didn't go too crazy on that. I cheated and copied over one wall. So this is me trying to just get all the bits. Excuse my camera wafting around. I'm not used to doing things for a speed build, so I tend to look at the camera from all angles whenever I place every piece. So I might try and stop the wobbles if it's giving you a little bit of motion sickness. Sorry about that. I'll have to say more facts about Longleat, but I've pretty much said all I know about it. And it's really cool. And you can go fishing there as well. There's a few fishing lakes, and when you're fishing, you can hear the lions roar and the seals. So it's a little bit odd in the middle of the English countryside, freezing, fishing or watching people fish and hearing a lion roar. It's a little bit strange, but brilliant. I do recommend it, and it's nice. I don't really want to get into the whole conservation and ethics behind zoos, but I'm not the biggest fan of standard zoos, animals in cages, pacing animals. Not really the biggest fan of those. But places like Longleat, I know they're out of their natural habitat, but they do a lot of good, Longleat, and they've got a lot of space. So the animals aren't in cages; they're in very natural, large habitat, which is really nice. And I'd like to say what I would do in Planet Zoo, but it turns out I'm quite a ruthless, profit-driven zoo tycoon, or zoo boss, that I make the habitats quite big, but as much viewing galleries as possible, right into the animals' bedrooms. I want to see right up their nostrils. And so it is not true to how I feel about zoos. So if for any future builds, if people think, oh my gosh, this person is cruel to animals, it's not. It's just a game, and I like to be as creative as possible. So a lot of my enclosures I wouldn't really like to see in the real world. But anyway, I digress. This is me trying to faff about with these stairs and trying to do a little bit of a like an angle, so it's coming out in all the directions. So I just separated a bit of trick, which just separated from grid and pulling them in like this. And I have noticed since editing this video that the right hand side, it's not perfectly symmetrical. So I don't know where I went wrong there, and I don't know how I didn't notice. So if that makes anyone's eyes twitch, sorry about that. I'm afraid, as my title shows, all of my intro even, I'm scrappy. I'm really scrappy. And I'll start something, get a bit bored, or find placing the same thing a bit tedious, so I'll move over somewhere else and then I'll come back. And sometimes I don't go back, and you might notice and start screaming at the telly that I've missed some chunks. And yeah, sorry about that. That's how I build, to keep things interesting. So middle bit, this is quite straightforward. Couldn't find any really good windows, big large windows that I wanted to use, so I just used smaller ones and duplicated them, which works well and nice because it keeps the same style for smaller and larger ones on the different floors. So I think that worked pretty well. And just getting the balustrades up the top. I only did this base just to give it a bit of foundation, just a bit of a trim at the bottom. That's not very accurate, but artistic license. I'm just same with these little under things. I just could not find a piece, so they're not as decorative as this in real life. They're a lot more like the bits I did with basic shapes, but for what it is, I think it works fine. It does the job. Yes, it's difficult to continuously chat. I might leave and just leave you to the speed build for a bit. But then saying that, I'll probably just pop back in and interrupt in about a minute when I've got something else to say. So I might put some music over the top and just let that fill my gaps. Me again. So this is trying to do the detail on the roof, which we didn't have pieces similar, but then since then I have noticed a piece with a big hole in the middle, which would have been perfect, which I didn't know at the time. I just don't know the game well enough yet. Planet Coaster, I know every piece pretty much by name and can search it, so it's just going to take a bit of time to really know all the pieces available. In this point I realised that it wasn't quite wide enough. The dimensions just didn't look right, so I've widened the whole thing only by just half like 2 meters each side, so 4 meters in total either side of the door. And the Longleat does have little statues on the roof, so I tried to use the in-game statues and make it a bit more playful, but I think I removed them because I thought they looked a bit... No, actually no. Ooh, no, I kept them. Never mind, they look great. But I think I'd possibly change them so they were just lions. I can't... well, we'll see at the end. I can't actually remember now. Oh, and sorry for the floating flags. I put them just for an idea of where the flags are going to go. Longleat's got flags on the top. I really wanted the flags out Planet Coaster, the Union Jacks. So I think they were more like placeholders for me to go back and sort. And of course, true to me, I never went back and sorted, so there are floaters. Yeah, this is the bit with a hole I was trying to sort out, and since then I found the piece which would have worked fine, but this works all right. And I was trying to put some detail on the sides. It's got some little pointy bits, but no. So I just faffed about for ages that at some point I just went, oh, sod it, that'll do. And it does the job. And the roof is ridiculous. I must admit, I did not follow the roof at all. I had an idea of different shapes and levels I wanted, and if you look at the roof of Longleat, it's just a higgledy-piggledy mess. And so I've created my own higgledy-piggledy mess, which unfortunately I can't remember if it was when it crashed or I forgot to push record, or I don't know, but I don't have any of the roof, well, most of the start of the roof building, which is a bit of a shame because that was one of my favourite parts to do. So this one's it's a bit tedious to watch. It's a bit copy and paste. And so I'm gonna get the sides done now. This is my favourite side, I think, actually. It's the bit of a balcony out the front. I do like these trims. I usually like everything to be off grid, so I've got complete freedom, but I've got to say, for building a building like this, it's really useful to have trim pieces that just snap on in place. It did make my life quite a lot easier, so I was very, very happy with those. And they're not all, as you can see there was some which are freeform, so they're not all grid based. And so that's really good. It gives quite a lot of freedom and a lot of choices to build. And I know that a few people are a bit miffed about the flexi colour, and I'm sort of in two minds. I understand it, and especially because the textures are a lot better on the walls. So I get how we had the same in Planet Coaster. If you coloured some of the walls, they would look slightly odd because the textures don't really fit with the colour that they are. But it was also brilliant for creativity. If you decide you want that wall purple because it fits with your build, then it was really useful. But this one, most of the things you can't, most of the wall pieces you can't recolour at all, which for the more textured, more, how do you say it, more detailed textures, that I get that the changing colours might make them look really odd. But in another sense, I think, well, give us the choice, and if they look odd, then it's our choice, and we've gone for it. But I get how the art team are a bit protective over that, and they want it to look as best. They want their textures to look as best as they can. So I do understand that, and it forces you to think of different ways, which I do relish. I do like a challenge. This is one thing why I didn't really get into the toolkit stuff myself, because I like limitations. I like my Lego box to be finite, and I have to make do with the bits I've got. I find it difficult to, when you're faced with every choice possible, I find it just difficult to start anything, because I'm a bit too indecisive. I'll start something and then change my mind, build something else. And so when you've got a seemingly limitless Lego box, I find that way too overwhelming. That was all a bit of a rant and waffle, but the main point is I kind of get why they've only given us a few recolorable textures, like just the plaster walls, and the rest aren't. And I have no idea what my point was about that for this, because the colour is perfect for Longleat. Oh, I think I was just talking about bits, wasn't I? Trims and pieces. So yeah, so that is the right hand side. I realised earlier, I think I said the left hand side as you look at it, and of course I meant the right. I do know my rights and lefts, I promise. So that's that bit done. And now this piece, as I say, is going to be mainly covered over by a big wall blocking off the starve zone. So I just copied and pasted that whole wall. The back is a little bit different, and it's got a little annex bit which comes out, which I didn't copy completely. I went a bit rogue, a bit freeform on this, and I made it into a conservatory little annex. So there's some shops in there and some plants. I want it to look like a nice little conservatory, but the shape is pretty similar, and the shape of the main walls, like this bit, is kind of correct with the thickness, with the width even of each of the slices. Like I say, these trims, I find them so useful. Just snap, 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 snap. Okay, so that is all the walls done. Okay, yeah, and this is just that right-hand side, the little balcony area leading on to some of the gardens, which I've split off into the next episode, so I'll talk about. I won't talk anything about the gardens really in this one. I like doing this. I'm trying to line things to grid, so it's also all the paths are perfect, and it takes, if you align it to grid, align it to a piece, it takes the bottom plane of that piece. So I just get one floor piece, and I'll separate it from grid, put it in exactly the place I want, and then use that to find my pathing, and then just delete that piece. I find that really easy, and then you can just align the rest of the path with the grid, so it's always on the right angles and everything snaps together nicely. And there's me just wafting around the screen. That's me probably just panning around for about half an hour doing nothing. That happens a lot. And so this is what I was talking about with a little annex, and this is pretty much just completely made up. So I imagine it, even though the one at Longleat is part of the main building, I imagine this is a bit of a more modern thing. Well, not modern, but more modern than the 1500s. Oh, and here we go, magic, the roof's half been done. So I wanted to put some path up there so people could get up and have a look over the whole zoo. Not that they will, I don't know if, without having viewpoints, I don't know if they actually would go up there, but I like the idea of having a big centerpiece with the ability to walk around and have a huge overview of everything. So there are stairs and there are paths, so I did all the pathing first, which was a bit of a faff, and I probably didn't mean to record the path, but I did mean to record the roof, and something went a bit wrong. So you can see the start of the higgledy-piggledy, and I basically just made the path and then arranged the roof around it, all the roof pieces, and just trimmed it where I could. And it doesn't have these copper bits, but I like the contrast. I like the contrast of the colour, and I really love these pieces. So I thought, why not? Here's my chance to be a bit creative and use all the pieces I could. And I'm just neatening off. I don't like seeing the edges of paths, so I wanted it to look completely integrated. Now this, I don't think there is a clock on Longleat, but there is a bit of a little motif, a little thing at the back. So maybe there once was a clock? I don't know, but it kind of fits, so I thought, why not? Let's pop a clock up there. Oh, and you can see the conservatory pretty much done as well at the bottom, so I don't know what happened to that either. Also missed on the recordings. I think it was a full computer crash, so I couldn't even save the recording. I had to do the hold button down, full shutdown. But at least most of it's here. You see, things like this, I really want to cover them up. I don't like any bits of curb or path poking out. I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but a scrappy one. I'm a scrappy perfectionist. So I intend to be a perfectionist, but often I fall short because I forget things, if that makes sense. So this is just the area that people can get up. I didn't really decorate the inside of the stairwell. It's mainly just a practical thing so people can come up, so I didn't really spend too much time on decorating that bit. I only wanted the exterior to be all detailed, but the stairs are just about 4 flights of stairs going straight down. And this is really fun, detailing the inside of the roof. Oh no, we're moving back. Here we go. This is me constantly changing what I'm doing. It's probably because at this point I've been making it for about 6-7 hours, not in one sitting, but after a while I do get a little bit bored of doing the same thing, so I like to change things up. Trims, adding lots of trims. And it's fun to just use all the pieces. I hadn't really used the classical before I hadn't used it at all before building this. This is the first build I made with the classical pieces, so it was really fun just to play around and see what's there. And you can't really go wrong with this higgledy-piggledy roof. It's probably not, well, it's not factually accurate or anything, but as long as it looks quite cool, which I think it does at the end, I don't think it really matters. So I had loads of choice with random classical pieces and just chucking them down, seeing what looked alright. When I broke up the copper roof as well, I didn't want it all to be that green. I thought that would be a bit much, so I used some slate roofs as well just to break up the colour a bit. And the same windows I used for the front, just copied these little windows again. Bit of continuity throughout the whole thing. I don't know what else to say at this bit apart from trim. Walls, trims. Walls. Roofs. So it's probably actually for the best that I didn't have voice recorded. Yeah, so just finishing off. This is pretty much the last bits now. Just finishing off, adding the last bits of window, the last bits of trim. And I add a skylight as well, which isn't true to life, but you can see into the bottom, see at the top. So that's it for the speed build part now. We're coming to the end. Thanks very much for watching. If you stuck with my waffle this long, thank you very much. And I hope to see you in the next episode where I will tackle the gardens and do some more waffling. But for now, I will just leave you to some screenshots. Thanks very much for watching and take care. Bye bye.